Welcome back, everyone, to Base Sunday. When one thinks of terrorist events, now the first thing that probably comes to mind for most Americans is 9/11. But for one woman, the date she will never forget happened more than 30 years ago. Virginia Joy, or VJ Stovall, lives in Vallejo and wrote Terror in Paradise. And she joins us today with her story. Joy, nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Now, describe where you were back then. You were apparently on your first tour of duty in Puerto Rico in 1979. Tell us what happened on December 3rd.
On December 3rd, 1979, I was on my way to work. And then I had heard that there was popping sounds, not realizing what those popping sounds were, thinking they were simply fireworks that day for the New Year and Christmas that was coming up. When I went upon the quarterdeck there, which is like the administration building, the bus had arrived, and the bus that contained 2 deceased individuals and 15 injured had happened to pull up, and it was very overwhelming to see the kind of experiences that I experienced and saw on that bus.
Two dead sailors,
yes.
Among 17. You were very young at the time. How did that affect you physically and mentally?
It affected me very, very deeply in ways that I had to bury it for so many years because I didn't want to talk about it in any way, shape, or form. It just stayed with me all those many, many years. And when I saw that our men were airlifted out of the command there, it left me with such a deep lump in my throat when I saw that. You never forget an image like that, you just don't.
And situations were different back then, whether it was with the way we handled it or the way, say, a military organization handled it. Nobody talked, did they?
That was the big problem that we had down there, is a lot of the local law enforcement agencies, along with the FBI, the NIS, and several of the others that came down there, would not communicate with one another. They all had very important information amongst themselves, but they never shared it. And
I had never personally heard about this particular incident. Now, you mentioned in your book that the terrorist attack in New York City, 9/11, really brought back a lot of these traumatic memories for you, but it also pushed you to get help. What action did you take? What step did you take?
Well, finally, after 9/11, I decided that was the thing that speared me ahead because I had so much pain coming back. It just spilled all back to me at once after 9/11, and I said I had to face this head on. So I went to my psychiatrist, and she was very receptive in understanding people that have post-traumatic stress syndrome. So I went to see her right away, and she was one of the ones who recommended that I should put this down in writing as a way of closure.
As we all reflect back on that time and place, what do you think the lessons are that we have learned about not only how to deal with a terrorist situation, but also with our own emotional stability?
Well, the one thing I think came out of the whole incident was the birth of the Office of Homeland Security, because out of that we finally have organizations that are now pooling their information together. They're in more cohesion, and we don't seem to have as many terrorist ambushes anymore now like we did back then. Now we have a group working together. As for myself, I've learned to take the pain and watch it head on, and I no longer have the fear like I did before about trying to, remember all these things that happened as they did. I've been able to head on with it without any problem, and I feel much relief from that by putting it in writing.
And as we look at the troops who are now in Afghanistan and Iraq, what advice would you have for whether it's them, their families, or for organizations who say, when these people come back, what do you think is the first thing that needs to be done for them?
I think the first thing they should go get a thorough examination done at the local VA centers. I think these people have come a long way since back 30 years ago, where they have the professionals there that now understand that PMS is really, the post-traumatic stress syndrome really is a real thing these days, and it's not a cop-out like I think some people thought way back when. This is a real thing. It's something you have to work through. And nowadays we do have the people that are trained to look these folks over and help them more better than we ever did before.
And your story certainly helps tell the story of this incident back in 1979, something that I had not heard about, but also how you overcame sort of that trauma. So, Joy, thank you so much for being here. Joy Stovall, it has been a pleasure. And I want to let you know you'll find Joy's book, Terror in Paradise. It's at your local bookstores and online. Next up, have you ever tried to negotiate with your 4-year-old, your boss, or a business and lose? We've got some strategies for successful negotiating. That's coming up next.